dismantling of the government agencies seeking to return money to Americans who are defrauded by the big banks. Can you maybe muster up enough energy to give a speech about that? House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. God, the Democrats are so pathetic. They're so pathetic because if you don't agree with what the Trump administration is up to, if you don't identify as a Republican, if you didn't want to vote for Donald Trump, what other option do you have? Okay? The party that tried to run a decomposing corpse.
Anna Kasparian is done making excuses for the Democratic Party. In a fiery rant, she takes aim at party leaders like Hakeem Jeffries for openly admitting that they have no leverage against Trump and the Republicans. But as she points out, the situation isn't just a problem now. Democrats have been making the same excuses for years. Whether they're in power or not, if they control Congress, it's the filibuster. If they hold the White House, it's Republican obstruction. And if they're in the minority, it's there's nothing we can do. The question is, if Democrats can never fight back, why should voters trust them to lead?
We want to get stuff done. We want to make life better for the American people. But I'm trying to figure out what leverage we actually have. What leverage do we have? Republicans have repeatedly lectured America. They control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's their government. What leverage do we have?
It's the Fearless Opposition Party, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a round of applause. Give them a round of applause. There's nothing we can do. What do you want us to do? I'm going to stand here as the House Minority Leader and complain about how we don't have any leverage when I could be messaging about how there's a robbery going on right now as we speak. The dismantling of the government agencies seeking to return money to Americans who are defrauded by the big banks. Can you maybe muster up enough energy to give a speech about that? House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. God, the Democrats are so pathetic. They're so pathetic because if you don't agree with what the Trump administration is up to, if you don't identify as a Republican, if you didn't want to vote for Donald Trump, what other option do you have? Okay? The party that tried to run a decomposing corpse, and then when he got caught, they anointed the Democratic nominee. The party that keeps telling you that there's nothing they can do, whether they're in power or out of power.
Yeah, I mean,
come on.
So, guys, you literally heard me sometimes sing this line. There's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. That's the Democratic mantra. And that they say that when they get in power. They're like, oh, the filibuster, the parliamentarian, skittle-boo. Well, you're like, that's not even a word. It doesn't matter. There's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do.
So pathetic.
And now that they're in the minority, here comes Hakeem Jeffries to sing the same song. There's nothing we can do. Then what? You know what? The American people believed you. You kept telling them that you can't do anything, so they voted you out of power because you can't do anything. Why don't you man up and grow a spine and a brain and actually figure out a strategy? That moron just said, well, and you know, the Republicans have the House and the Senate and the White House, and the Republicans message to the American people. Wait, why don't you message to the American people? You're doing a press conference right there, schmuck. Why don't you get out your message? I didn't think about that.
Anna Kasparian's frustration with the Democratic Party stems from what she sees as a pattern of pity and excuse-making. She argues that Democratic leaders like House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries have become masters at deflecting blame and claiming powerlessness, regardless of whether they hold a majority or minority in government. This recurring narrative, according to Kasparian, sends a demoralizing message to those who expect bold action. If Democrats continuously insist that they are helpless against Republican obstruction, why should their base feel motivated to support them? This sentiment is particularly damning in an era where political engagement is crucial. Yet Democratic leaders seem more comfortable explaining why they can't act rather than devising strategies to push forward progressive policies. Kasparian contrasts the Democrats' perceived political cowardice with the Republicans' aggressive approach to power. Even when out of office, Republicans flood the media with their messaging, hold hearings, and create scandals that dominate the national conversation. The GOP understands that influence isn't just about holding formal power. It's about maintaining a constant presence in political discourse. Meanwhile, Democrats tend to retreat when they are in the minority, allowing Republicans to dictate the terms of debate. This stark difference in political strategy leaves progressives like Kasparian exasperated. If Republicans can drive their agenda forward even when they are out of power, Why do Democrats so often act as if their hands are tied when they are in control?
Look, I need you to understand, these Democratic leadership, mainstream media told you your whole life about how these amazing people. They literally said, when we were criticizing Barack Obama from the left, you don't understand, he's doing 4-dimensional chess. He 4-dimensional chess to no change at all other than Obamacare, okay? He 4D chess all the way to a giant bank bailout that made the Democratic Party deeply unpopular and lost 1,000 seats. And here comes Hakeem Jeffries to go, there's nothing I can do. They're dumb. They're right, and they're incompetent.
Incompetent,
total losers.
Yep, 100%. This is it. This is the opposition party. So look, his explanation for why Democrats can't deliver for Americans right now is that Republicans just never let them get anything done. Right? That's the role of your opposition party, Hakeem Jeffries. But isn't it amazing that when Republicans want something, they usually find a way to get what they want? Anyway, he doubled down later in the same press conference. Let's hear what the House Minority Leader has to say.
We've made clear from the beginning, there's a season to govern and a season to campaign. We are in the governing season. And so we're ready to work together on any issue. But I'm also confused about the leverage that we allegedly have in the face of such an overwhelming mandate that was given to Republicans by the...
Listen, no one is stupid enough to think that Democrats have a modicum of power right now. They don't. They have no power right now. We all understand that. But how about take a look at the behavior of Republicans when they are not in power? You want to know what they do? They don't shut up. Okay? They're doing press conferences. They're doing congressional hearings. They're repetitive. Again and again. I mean, the Hillary Benghazi thing. Every single day, Hillary Benghazi, Hillary Benghazi, Hillary Benghazi. Democrats, though, they cower. They cower. And then they tell their own supporters, shut up. There's nothing we can do because we don't have enough power. And then what they'll say is, we need to have control of Congress. And then everyone will get out the vote. They'll organize. They'll canvass. They'll fight real hard to ensure Democrats have the majority in Congress in both the lower chamber, Senate. And guess what they do with that power? Nothing. That's what Biden had. And then it was excuse after excuse after excuse for why they can't get their own agenda accomplished, even when they had control of the executive branch and they had control of Congress. But don't worry, don't fret.
Kasparian also revisits past Democratic failures, particularly under Barack Obama and Joe Biden, to highlight a broader trend of overpromising and under-delivering. She criticizes Obama's tenure, pointing out that despite being hailed as a political mastermind playing 4-dimensional chess, his administration ultimately bailed out banks instead of working-class Americans, leaving a legacy of economic frustration that helped fuel Trump's rise. Similarly, Biden's presidency, despite initial Democratic control of both chambers of Congress, failed to deliver on key progressive promises. The endless excuses, be it the filibuster, the parliamentarian, or other procedural obstacles, only reinforce the perception that the Democratic Party lacks the will to fight for its base. This track record of disappointment makes it difficult for voters to trust that the party will deliver meaningful change in the future. Another key theme in Kasparian's critique is her rejection of mainstream media's tendency to lionize Democratic leaders for years. Corporate media outlets have portrayed figures like Obama, Biden, and now Hakeem Jeffries as brilliant strategists despite their repeated political failures. This disconnect between reality and media narratives fuels skepticism among independent commentators and progressive voters. Kasparian sees through the glossy political coverage and recognizes that Democratic leaders are not playing long games or secretly maneuvering their opponents. They are simply ineffective. The more mainstream media continues to defend this ineptitude, the more disillusioned voters become, driving them toward alternative sources of political analysis.
Because there's another Democratic leader who's going to fight for us, and she's going to explain how in this next clip.
My whole passion about being in politics is for the children. So what is it that we're doing for the children? I think that it would have been important for the children to not have Donald Trump be president of the United States. And that is, I would take every step necessary to make sure that didn't happen, but it did. And now we have to deal with it. And in about 6 or 7 months, you're going to see such a change by the time we start our campaigns in this fall for next fall. You're going to see a very different picture about the Democrats vis-a-vis Donald Trump.
Retire. She's sitting there and talking about, like, don't worry, in 6 months, we might start fighting back. Like,
and I want to explain why she said 6 to 7 months. First, let me go through all this, and we're going to be constructive. I'm going to tell you what they actually should do, okay? Because I think we're the only show that ever does that, right? So, first of all, on Hakeem Jeffries, he says, well, there's nothing we do in the minority. But wait a minute, when you were in the majority and Biden had the House, the Senate, and the White House, you also said there was nothing you could do. Why? Because the GOP was blocking all your bills, even though they were in the minority because of the filibuster.
While acknowledging the importance of diversity and inclusion, Kasparian criticizes the Democratic Party's over-reliance on symbolic victories rather than substantive policy changes. She highlights how Democrats often prioritize gestures like appointing LGBTQ generals or raising pride flags at the White House, while failing to address economic issues, workers' rights, or systemic inequalities. This focus on performative wokeness rather than tangible improvements for working-class Americans alienates many voters. While representation matters, it cannot replace concrete action. Kasparian argues that Democrats need to stop using identity politics as a shield for their inaction and start delivering real results for the people they claim to represent. Republicans have mastered the art of political messaging, using every opportunity to advance their narrative, whether in power or not. Kasparian points out how GOP leaders like Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump have managed to keep their base engaged through relentless media appearances, aggressive congressional investigations, and well-coordinated messaging efforts. Even during Democratic control, Republicans dominated the political discourse, hammering issues like inflation, crime, and border security into voters' minds. Democrats, on the other hand, often struggle to communicate their own achievements or defend against Republican attacks. Kasparian sees this as a major strategic failure. If Democrats cannot articulate a compelling vision for the country, they will continue to lose ground to a party that knows how to control the narrative. What do you think of today's video? Let us know in the comments. Thank you.